Hello and welcome to North-Central TV. I'm Azino Appeal. Now the top stories this hour. PDP announces new venue for Board of Trustees meeting after police siege at headquarters in Abuja. 4 mobile policemen reportedly killed in fresh armed herders attack in Benue state. And South African refugees living in Cape Town COVID-19 shelter embark on protest over planned eviction. Details coming up now. We begin with politics. The People's Democratic Party on Monday moved the venue of its Board of Trustees meeting from the Wadata Plaza, the party's national secretariat in Abuja, to the Yaadua Center in the Central Business District of the Federal Capital Territory. The party, which urged all BOT members to proceed to the new venue, faulted the takeover of its secretariat by armed policemen from the FCT Police Command. The PDP described as harassment the actions of the policemen who barred BOT members from accessing the secretariat for their meeting. The police had disallowed members of the party's BOT, including Maina Chiroma, from entrance into the premises of the secretariat.
The landlord was prevented from sitting down and discussing the family problem. He loved it. That doesn't mean that there are no more other houses. We spoke to some of the policemen who said that maintain law and order because of the conflicting notices that the agency.
Yes, and also that they got an order from the board. So we
legally. What they call whether it's between I have been on both sides. So let me please allow sleeping. We have more problems, economic, financial, education, infrastructure.
Now, our correspondent Joshua Marai, who has been monitoring the unfolding events, now joins us live. Hello, Joshua. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here on the news today. If you will, please, can you give us an update on what's been happening there with the BOT and the change in venue?
Well, good afternoon to you, Mazino. A few minutes back, I was at the Yaadua Center where the members of the BOT used to hold their meeting. And the chairman of the BOT, that's the president of Dr. condemned the attitude at which our security operatives took over the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party. However, I am back at the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party, the Wadata Plaza, and behind me is a tent where accreditation is supposed to commence proper. A few minutes back, it was actually going on smoothly, but all of a sudden, the accreditation stopped. I wonder why. So this is the current situation here at the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party, and we are monitoring the situation. However, earlier, the chairman of the BOT said that after their meeting at the Yaadua Center, they will proceed down here, that's the PDP National Secretariat, the Wadata Plaza, and to come in. So we are watching how the drama will unfold, and trust me,
I definitely trust.
Development is updated.
I definitely trust that you're going to do that. But before I let you go, I wanted to find out if you spoke with any of the policemen or any of their heads of authority there regarding why exactly they were at the Wadata Plaza.
The news and that they were here on the orders of their superiors. Well, questioning for the why they are here, they said that based on the constituting memo that was issued yesterday, one from the National Secretary, that's the person of Sam Anyanwu, and the other from the National Deputy National Chairman South, concerning their concurrent meetings that was to hold at the same time and at the same venue. The authorities to come here, barricade the entrance to prevent chaos from happening. But however, that has not been that has not landed well in the ears of PDP stalwart and PDP leaders here, because they condemn the act and saying that this is more like the hands of the hands of Esau and the voice of Jacob. I wonder what they mean by that, but trust me, to give your state, as we unravel that.
All right. One last one, Joshua. Now, regarding the PDP's constitution, you know, there's plenty of fine prints that sometimes could become a very big issue, especially when it comes to these political parties, regarding where they meet. Since the national headquarters is at the Wadata Plaza, does their constitution allow them to actually hold meetings anywhere else?
Well, the constitution for the PDP does not specifically hold particularly where they are supposed to hold their meeting. So recall that the last time they held their meeting at one of the governor's lodge, that was about the governor's lodge, before they moved to Legacy House to hold their meeting proper. So it does not specifically state where their meeting will hold. But what we know is that they'll be holding meetings outside the national secretariat here, which is the Wadata Plaza. So I don't really think, but if there is contrary information to that, we expect that the PDP will come out to debunk that and to give us a clear guideline as the venue where they are supposed to hold their meeting.
All right, Joshua Marai, I'll let you go now. Thank you very much for joining us. Now we'll go to our previous story where we brought you that information about Buddy George, but let's bring you that visual now since we didn't bring it from before.
Yeah. This is the voice of Jacob, but the hand of Esau. Whoever is the thing that is other from the above, we've had it before. I have been on both sides, the military and the civil. So let me please advise, allow sleeping dogs to lie. We have more problems, economic, financial, education, infrastructure. They should face that. Are you saying we PDP cannot? It is the only political Iroko tree in this country. You are saying we cannot stand? Can you tell Iroko tree in the bush that it cannot stand? Is it possible? We cannot, you don't resolve, because PDP is not a private enterprise. You don't resolve it outside. You must sit down. So if you want us to resolve our crisis, you keep it crisis. I said it's no crisis. It's a disagreement between two people. And we will sit down like you do in a family. If you have a family problem, do you start to go and get the police to block your house and all that and go to the marketplace? No. Please. Let's be civil in this country. Because the public is watching. Everybody is looking at Nigeria. Now the president is on visit to somewhere in West Indies. How would they hear? This is what we are doing in your country. What are you doing here?
Expressing his views regarding the change in venue for the PDP BOT meeting. Now moving on, APC North-Central Zone has demanded the position of national chairman be zoned to their region following the resignation of Abdullahi Ganduje as the party's national chairman. Stakeholders from Kogi, Benue, Nasarawa and other North-Central states insist the party's zoning arrangement favors their claim. In Benue, both APC factions, one loyal to SGF, George Akume, the other to Governor Hyacinth Alia, agreed the chairmanship should go to the North Central. Meanwhile, APC stakeholders in Nasarawa under the All Progressives Congress Forum led by Saleh Zazaga have endorsed former Governor Tanko Al-Mukara for the role, citing extensive consultations within the region. The contest for the vacant chairmanship is intensifying as regional leaders push for representation. And still on politics, presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, has confirmed he will contest the 2027 presidential election. Obi added that he was willing to serve a single 4-year term if elected. He made the declaration on Sunday night while speaking during a live session on X Spaces, where he answered questions from supporters both in Nigeria and abroad. In a statement released on Monday by his spokesman, Ibrahim Umar of the Peter Obi Media Reach, Obi dismissed claims of a possible joint ticket with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. However, he admitted being open to coalition talks only if they are focused on addressing Nigeria's core problems. And now to security matters. 4 mobile policemen were feared dead in a fresh Sunday afternoon armed herders attack on Uday community in Guma local government area, LGA of Benue State. Uday community is less than 15 minutes drive from the Yelawata community that was equally invaded over 2 weeks ago by armed bandits. It was gathered that the marauders who launched the attack at about 11 a.m. also attempted to storm neighboring Daudu, but were repelled by a combined team of security agencies and the youth of the area. They were said to have invaded the Asha community, where they shot sporadically, chasing people away from their farms, and it eventually escalated to Otese, which is home to thousands of internally displaced persons. Northern Nigeria, northern states, are divided over the recent call by the Northern Elders Forum for the federal government to declare a state of emergency in the region to combat rising insecurity. While states like Zamfara, Kano, and Kaduna expressed varying degrees of support. And staying with security matters, Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has described Nigeria's lingering insecurity as a problem created and sustained by the country's elite. Speaking at a stakeholders meeting in Plateau State, Mutfwang said the elite have contributed to deepening communal divisions and must take responsibility for reversing the trend. He noted that while the poisoning of minds may often start at the community level, the elite have the power to halt such narratives if they choose to. Mutfwang urged Nigerian elites to take greater responsibility in promoting unity and peaceful coexistence. He reaffirmed his administration's commitment to dismantling artificial barriers of faith and ethnicity, which he argued have long hindered development in Plateau State. And now to discuss the rising security challenges in the country, particularly in the north, we're joined by former National Coordinator, Middle Belt Patriots, Zari Yusuf. Zari, good afternoon. Thank you once again for joining us here on the news. To start with, Zari...
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. So to start with, does this divergence reflect a deeper ideological split between the Middle Belt and the far north as regarding the national security approaches?
I will say so. It's not just about how the security issue should be handled. Like you said, it basically betrays a very deep and historical mistrust, lack of trust that exists, I'd say, between whatever the Northern Elders Forum represent and what the governor of Benue State differs from. Although I must state that I am not a fan of how he has fared in terms of how he handles security. Nor am I a fan of especially the recent comment by the Plateau State governor trying to make it look as if it's a communal issue. It's not a declaration of a state of emergency. When the military escalates its aggression against non-state actors, one thing that is characteristic is you begin to hear people talking about killing of innocent people. A typical example is each time the military uses air power, the Air Force launches an attack, there is always that story about they are killing innocent people. And I think about 3-4 times, an attack somewhere between the border of Nasarawa and Benue, another one in Kaduna, another one when the Lakurawas began using armed drones to attack the military, all of which the military would argue that no, these are terrorists, we've monitored this region. Then you find elders, you find clerics, you find politicians saying they are civilians. Okay. So it's a bit odd.
Yeah.
When they say the state of emergency should be declared, exactly how somebody from Benue or any part of the Middle Belt interprets it would explain why possibly he had objected to that. But like I said, I am not a fan of how he has handled security. Most likely he wants to sustain.
Zari, let's talk about that objection. Let's talk about that pushback that we always get from Benue State when it comes to Northern Alliance, when it comes to the call for state of emergency. What do you think the historical marginalization might be, and how does it play into this resistance for Northern Alliance calls for state of emergency?
When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited Benue, of course, the Tortive made a profound point that the attacks are not communal. it's a terrorist attack, it's expansionist in nature. That differed a little with the position the governor took, because he was he wasn't sincere about the figures. He beat them down to just a little over 50 when there were over 200 people that were killed. And he continues to insist it is not what it is. It's not a genocide. He continues to insist it's not a it's not a case of a terrorist attack. To a large extent, he was holding brief on behalf of the attackers. So himself, the president, and unfortunately the chief of defense staff made it look as if it was just a matter of economic issues. People are hungry and then they go to attack people to find their source of livelihood. Now, the political dimension of it is his fear of a state of emergency being declared in Benue, looking at the massive casualties, being left after every Islamist attack. So the likelihood could be that what the Northern Elders Forum are calling for might spotlight certain parts of the North-Central, Benue particularly, and perhaps recommendations might come to declare a state of emergency, which is not something he wants. So I think his resistance, other than, of course, the historic differences that have always lingered between the Northern, the Arewa, and the Middle Belt, I think his resistance might come from the fear that, perhaps a state of emergency would be declared. And I think he's just playing politics with matters of life and death.
Now, we also heard that the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Muftuang, he described Nigeria's lingering insecurity crisis as a problem created by the elite, or rather sustained actually by the elite. I don't know what you make of that.
Well, when he says sustained by the elites, I would agree if he does not disconnect it with the matter of ideology, Islamism, basically, because the people doing what they are doing are pursuing a jihad. So the elite who maintained that ideology created that problem and they are sustaining it. But when he makes it appear like a problem of elites and gives it a bit of a political dimension and then makes it look like intercommunal. On the Plateau, on the Benue, in the Middle Belt entirely, we don't have such communal clashes. There might be disputes, but nobody picks up arms, nobody rapes women, nobody kills in mass, nobody destroys crops. Usually they are settled either by the police or in courts because of how bonded we are, together as a people. But when he mentions that and then he slips into intercommunal, then I think it's an unfortunate statement because that would be him trying to lend his voice to suppress the fact of a genocide of his own people. And that basically is how I see it. Well, so when he says elite, it would be the elite that carry the ideology of these killings, but not communal in the sense that he wants to put it.
Zari Yusuf, always a pleasure having you on the news to give us your very clear, insightful opinion. Thank you. We're now going to break, but when we come back, reports of security threats in parts of Abia State after about 2 years of seeming calm. When we return, the details. Hey, welcome back. We're still talking security. Now, there have been recent reports of security threats in parts of Abia State after about 2 years of seeming calm in the state. In the last 1 month, the Umo-Nyochi and Isuquato vicinities have witnessed pockets of insecurity ranging from kidnapping, armed robbery, and also murder. Umuahia, the state capital, has also had a fair share of insecurity in recent time. News Central's Chinwe Ogele, in this report here, tries to unpack the return of violent crimes in the state.
Prior to August of 2023, insecurity was at its peak in Abia State, with Umu-Nyochi and Isuquato leading in various forms of violent crimes. For nearly 2 years, the state witnessed some calm and safety as the security situation improved.
By God's specialty, I have never been a victim. I have not witnessed any.
In recent times, there have been incidents of kidnapping and attempts in Isuquato, including when suspected armed robbers, while fleeing, shot dead a man on a motorcycle. cases of murder in the Ingwa area and rape as well as theft in parts of the state. However, it appears more work needs to be done to check the different trends of insecurity threatening the peace of the people, from the families to the society in general.
The security people, relaxed for some time after the rescue of Umunochi, and this is what security challenges. And within that period, the criminals, regrouped again, to start, harassing people. So the state government need to go back to and also do the
Keep on this cycle issue. But there was a time they thought that they should remove those tapuli that used to make the place being completely covered. But most of them are so covered in the back. If the places are opened, it may be a bit difficult for at least if somebody is bringing out gun, somebody from outside will be able to see maybe the thief or so.
Not even the state capital, Umuahia, is free of violent attacks in some areas, as rape, theft, substance abuse and cultism become the order of the day.
Experts have told us that a good percentage of crimes, we are tailored to hard drugs. So if they can stop those who are selling hard drugs within the town, it will help curtail insecurity within the town.
Security advisor to the Abia State Governor MacDonald Oba says government is on top of the situation to ensure insecurity does not escalate.
We do not fold our hands and let some miscreants take over our state. As you know, they find no rest here. It's an assurance.
Stakeholders need to collaborate from every nook and cranny of the state to adequately fight substance abuse in order to control the return and spread of insecurity. In Umuahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
And now to judicial matters. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Duaga has been granted bail upon arraignment at the Abuja Federal High Court. And that's in the defamation suit. Now, the suspended senator was released on self-recognition due to her status as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and a Supreme Court lawyer. She faces charges related to alleged defamatory statements against the Senate President and a former governor during a live television broadcast. The case has been adjourned to 27th September 2025 for further hearing. The court required one surety of reasonable integrity residing in Abuja with landed property. Akpoti-Duaga pleaded not guilty to the charges, and the trial continues amid significant public and legal interests. Meanwhile, tenants of Maine's Court Estate, a commercial property located in Abuja's central business district, are raising alarm over continuous harassment by authorities, including AMCON, the Nigeria police, and alleged thugs. Following yet another police-led sealing of the premises, affected business owners say the repeated disruptions are crippling their operations and are calling for a peaceful resolution to the ownership dispute without punishing law-abiding tenants. News Central's Sagir Ibrahim here has more in this report.
Maine's Court Estate, located just a few meters across from the NNPCL towers, houses businesses in construction, media, ICT, consultancy, among others. Now sealed off again by law enforcement, tenants say this is only the latest in a series of shutdowns that have plagued them for years.
We are aware of a court case that is ongoing, which is at the Federal High Court. This morning we woke up to an ex parte motion from a magistrate court expecting us to vacate the building within 1 hour. Now, we have installations there, we have businesses, we have a lot of inconveniences to go through, but these people came with police, with thugs, and everybody, they were shouting, banging doors, that we must leave the premises with our properties in 1 hour. It's so disheartening that this kind of impunity can happen in the very seat of power in Nigeria.
Abisogun, who has operated from the building for 13 years, says the disruption have not only hurt his business, but have also caused emotional and financial strain.
For us, we don't know what is going on. I'm a tenant here, and I've been in this property for over 13 years. We have people that have been here for close to 20 years. And we believe that business should be protected by government. But it is appalling that government that should protect us are now using the instrument of government to disrupt business.
The dispute stems from an ongoing legal tussle between Mena Court Ventures and the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON. Tenants say a federal high court order had barred their eviction, but that a conflicting ruling from a lower court is now being used to justify their removal.
As it stands, there's a federal judge that ruled that tenants should not be disturbed, that pending the determination of the case. From the documents served us by our landlord is that AMCON took them to court that there's a pending loan, which they claim that there's no any loan. All right, and I think the whole thing started between Minor Court Ventures and the FCMB. But as it stands today, the matter is in court, and I think the ideal thing for anybody or for any institution is to wait for the outcome of the court process or the court proceedings.
With no end in sight, they are calling on the authorities to allow them continue business pending the final judgment of the court. In Abuja for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Our federal high court, or rather a federal government delegation, has arrived in Saudi Arabia ahead of the burial of Nigerian business mogul and elder statesman Aminu Dantata. Dantata, one of Nigeria's most influential industrialists and philanthropists, passed away while in the kingdom for medical treatment. The delegation is in the country to pay last respects and represent the Nigerian government at the funeral, which will take place in accordance with Islamic rites. Dantata's death has drawn tributes from across the country, with many praising his legacy of enterprise, philanthropy, and national service. Now, tensions are running high at the Federal Capital Territory Administration, where staff under the Joint Union Action Committee and other trade unions have staged a mass protest calling for urgent government action. The aggrieved workers on Monday barricaded the entrance of the FCTA secretariat in Abuja, demanding the payment of outstanding wage award arrears, timely promotions, access to training, and improved work tools. Their anger is also directed at the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, whom they accuse of worsening their conditions. They insist that the current leadership has shown disregard. Women farmers in the federal capital have called for an end to marginalization by both states and the federal government, especially in the provision of intervention initiatives for the nation's farming community. This was as they visited the Ministry of Women Affairs in Abuja, where they called for collaboration between the Women Ministry and the Ministry of Agriculture to meet the needs of women farmers across the country and address challenges affecting their farming. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, here reports.
Had converged on the Ministry of Women Affairs in Abuja. The advocacy visit to the ministry is aimed at informing those in authority about the challenges women farmers go through in the country, which has become too numerous.
Women will contribute over 70% to workforce in agriculture. Yet these women are hungry, yet these women are not secured. I begin to ask and I begin to speak out that as women are not secured, there is fear and there is every tendency that food insecurity might not stop.
This timely release of farm inputs, up till now, we women farmers in FCT, we have not even gotten anything, even from the government. Even at the subsidized rate that they used to give to us before, it's no longer there.
Some of the women called for increased collaboration between the Ministry of Women Affairs and the Ministry of Agriculture, saying that it will go a long way in helping address key challenges affecting women farmers in the country.
They should work in collaboration to ensure that women are getting what is duly for them. That is not only saying of farmers, but should be able to streamline this thing with gender lens. And by so doing, both a man will be standing, a woman will be standing.
Others are calling for quick intervention and support for women farmers to end their marginalization.
They should please come to our aid, we women farmers. They should come to our aid. You know, like this year now, we have no farm. Some of us have no farm. Why? No land. And where we used to collect land, as a result of the money they are putting on it is too high, we can't afford it. They should give us loan with a little interest that women will be able to get, farm, pay back, and still have something in their pockets.
The women say that they are committed to helping the nation boost food security. They say that they have the numbers in farming and only need a little help and support from the government. In Abuja for New Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The dispute over the genuine ownership of a mining site in Nasarawa State, north-central Nigeria, has raised concerns over illegal mining and the operation of such sites without proper documentation. This formed the highlight of a press conference in Abuja, where some operators in the mining sector have called on the federal government to live up to its responsibility and ensure the proper regulation of companies mining key mineral across the country.
We, as young Nigerians, were able to attract foreign investors, create job employment for other youths, old, young, male, female, and our effort is being sabotaged by Deme Global Nigeria Limited. Have we done wrong attracting foreign investors?
I would also like to urge the government to help the sector grow and address the rising spate of illegal miners. It is important to ensure that all companies operating in Nigeria possess all the required documentation.
Heightened cooperation between China and Africa was the centerpiece of discussion during the recent International Conference for West Africa, also known as the Second Post-FOCAC Forum. The event, the second in its edition, which was organized by the Center for Contemporary China-Africa Research, saw experts appraise China's current policy on Africa and its support in the sectors of agriculture, renewable and green energy, provision of infrastructure, amongst others. The China ambassador to Nigeria, Yu Dunhai, says that China is open to strengthening, heightening collaborations and also support for Nigeria's developmental aspirations, especially considering the key role Nigeria plays in Africa.
China stands ready to work with African side to advance the 10 partnership actions through priority cooperations in green industries, e-commerce and payment systems, science and technology, and AI institutional collaboration in security, finance, and the rule of law. These measures address Africans' most urgent development needs. Standing shoulder to shoulder, China and Africa will ignite greater hope for Global South, rejuvenation, and forge stronger safeguard for international equity and justice.
We are confident and beyond effective implementation of current FOCAC projects and initiatives, Nigeria is positioning itself for the next tranche of disbursement in the African Fund portfolio, and not only this, once again, to become a net exporter to China in the next 5 years.
We in Africa, in our relationship with China, we have a kind of a resilient hope to achieve greatness, modernization, especially as it relates to agriculture, to health, to education, as well as trade and investment, and our common security.
COVID-19 shelter embark on protest over planned eviction. We'll tell you more after the break. Do stay with us. Now, at least 7 people were killed and many others wounded during recent anti-government protests in the Togolese capital, Lomé. Campaigning groups and right organizations who made this known to journalists denounced abuses committed by members of the Togolese security forces and militias. They also reported dozens of wounded and more than 60 arrests during the 3 days of demonstrations held from Thursday to Saturday. The Togolese authorities, who have yet to provide an official toll from the recent protests, denied the deaths were linked to the unrest.
Le drame a pris une dimension encore plus inhumaine avec l'annonce de la découverte de corps sans vie, dont des enfants. Une fois encore, la terre du Togo s'est abreuvée du sang innocent, celui de nos enfants. Une fois de trop. 3 corps ont été repêchés dans la lagune de Baie dans l'après-midi du 27, manifestement avec des impacts de balles au vu des lésions observées et des témoignages des riverains qui ont fait état de coups de feu. Parmi eux, un jeune de 16 ans qui venait de passer le BEPC. La famille est inconsolable. Le papa en sanglots a dit, je cite, « Tous mes espoirs reposaient sur mon fils, allongé sans vie. » Fin de citation. 2 corps sans vie furent repêchés dans le 4e lac d'Akoresewa dans la matinée du 27. Ils ont été identifiés par leurs frères et la famille a procédé à leur enterrement au Bénin.
Artillery shelling by the Rapid Support Forces have killed at least 3 people and wounded dozens in the besieged Sudanese city of El Fasher, as a medical group reported that 239 children have died from malnutrition in the area over the last 6 months. The RSF intensified its long-range artillery attacks on the capital of North Darfur, the army's last stronghold in the Darfur region, ignoring United States calls for a humanitarian truce to allow aid to reach trapped civilians. Local sources said shells struck the Navisha market in the Abu Shuk camp north of the city, killing at least 3 people. The market, which has been operating at partial capacity, has been repeatedly hit, causing civilian casualties and widespread damage. And refugees in Cape Town residing in a COVID-19 shelter since 2019, alongside residents of a nearby informal settlement, have protested against planned evictions. They allege that authorities are attempting to divide the communities. The city seeks an eviction order to clear the land for social housing development, though a local councillor has denied these claims. Many refugees who have lived legally in South Africa for over 10 years are appealing to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees for assistance in relocating to countries such as Canada and Switzerland.
Don't even believe, I don't even know exactly what the government wants with us in reality. Because they were supposed to say, okay, we put you here, we have to take you from here to this place. It doesn't mean it says they're going to take us and they put us on the street. If they need, they got to put us on the street the way they need. It will be another way. We can't even walk looking the place that we can get the peace, the place they're going to arrive, even the government will arrive to display our feelings. Because there is no way we can just live like an animal. It doesn't mean say the way we live here, we are happy. We're not happy.
The council is trying to divide us. They want us to fight. And that is not something that we must let them do. Because they are here to take our support. And they are coming for us. And we know that.
Now, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres met with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez on the opening day of the UN Conference on Financing for Development held in Seville. The high-level event brings together global leaders and financial experts to address the growing challenges in funding sustainable development, particularly in vulnerable regions. The conference seeks to mobilize renewed international commitment to development aid amid significant funding shortfalls. Recent cuts led by the United States have threatened progress on global poverty reduction and hindered the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And at least 2 people were killed when firefighters were ambushed while responding to a wildfire in Kootenai Country, Idaho. The deadly incident unfolded during an active standoff between law enforcement and an unknown number of armed individuals. The blaze, which continued to burn across a mountainside, prompted emergency services to respond before the situation escalated into gunfire Now, according to local authorities, the firefight with the suspect was ongoing, and officers were taking sniper fire while helping civilians evacuate the area. Officials believe the victims were members of the firefighting team. The attack has left the community in shock, with local leaders expressing sorrow and concern as the standoff continued into the night. Now, on a short break. We've got just a little more Insider Sports when we return. Nigeria's first quarter 2025 foreign direct investment fell 19% to $250 million, reflecting weakened investor confidence due to exchange rate volatility and unclear policy. Now, this contributed to a $2.77 billion overall deficit. Oladipo Ajayi, head of fixed income and FX, Chapel Hill Denham Securities Limited, attributed low first-quarter investment to investor uncertainty from the U.S. tariff war and Nigeria's unclear rebase activity. He states investors are waiting for clarity on fundamental issues like inflation.
In isolation from the fact of what is happening globally. And don't forget that in Q1, the United States President actually mentioned that the tariff war will kickstart April. So a lot of foreign investors were actually standing by the sideline at that particular point in time. They need clarity. They need to see the U.S. president unpack what he had in his offering. And this is one of the reasons why we do not see a lot of investment actually flowing into Nigeria or some other emerging market at that particular point in time. And also, don't also forget that Q1 also had its peculiarity, and because a lot of investors were still trying to check what would be more like the direction and what trajectory would the country be actually towing at that particular point in time. So I think that's one of the reasons why we didn't see much more of that level of inflow into our economy in Q1. And I also believe that they will also be looking at some of the fundamental issues like inflation, and in January we actually mentioned that we're going to rebase inflation figure now, and also the GDP. A lot of foreign guys are actually waiting to see how would that pan out, what would be the effects, what would be the modality, what would be the aftermath of some of these rebasing activity, and I'm not actually surprised if most of them actually waited to actually see what will happen by the end of Q1, because if I've been there, sure.
Now, Africa's digital economy is transforming lives and also creating jobs and driving sustainable development. Now, with a young, growing population, the continent can leapfrog fossil fuels through data-driven innovation supported by the AU's Digital Innovations Transformation Strategy and the EU and EIB partnership. James Saruchera, founder, Afric Foundation, emphasized power as fundamental. He advocates for widespread power access to fuel, manufacturing, and also tech, and integrating AI into all educational subjects, not just as a standalone topic.
Centers or cell phone towers, it will make that output at a lower cost. So we have to start with power, and then once we've got a stable base of cost-effective, clean power, then I think the other levers come in. So your talent, we need to completely relook at how our education curricula is structured, and we need to have AI.
And that's all the stories we can bring you this hour. But before we go, let's take a look at some of the major stories. PDP has announced a new venue for its Board of Trustees meeting after police siege at headquarters in Abuja. And 4 mobile policemen have been reportedly killed in a fresh armed herders attack in Benue State. We also told you that South African refugees living in Cape Town COVID-19 shelter have embarked on protests over planned eviction. Remember, you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number being displayed on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. We're live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.